Welcome to edupediaworld.com. In today's video, we will learn about agriculture and animal husbandry. So first we'll talk about agriculture and how is the agriculture used as far as animal husbandry is concerned, right? So let's first talk about agriculture. What is agriculture? Agriculture is a science or it is practice of farming which includes cultivation of the soil for growing crops and rearing of animals to provide food and other products. So agriculture involves cultivation of animals, plants, fungi, biofuel and other medicinal plants. So agriculture is important for us in order to sustain, enhance life, that is the human life. So why is agriculture important? It is required because we need nutrition. It is important for human nutritional requirements. So what happens when we don't get enough nutrition? Then it is called undernutrition. This problem occurs when we don't get enough calories to eat, right? But this is a very less of a problem. It is not that a major problem. The major problem is malnutrition. When we don't get enough nutrients in our food, like the vitamins, the minerals, the fats, the carbohydrates. So if we don't get these important nutrients in our food to our body, then that is called malnutrition and it is a major problem, right? Another major problem is obesity. Now obesity happens when we have too much of calories which is given to our body. Then we become obese, we become fat, and that is another problem. So the agriculture is giving us all those nutrients, all those required calories which the human body needs in order to sustain and have a very good life and a very healthy life. The role of agriculture has been the same since ages. Now what happened with the growing population? As the population increased, we had industrialization coming in, we have globalization coming in, and with industrialization, with more and more of population increasing, the requirement of food was also increasing. The food was required in much larger quantity as compared to the growing population, and therefore we had what is called as the Green Revolution. And with the help of this Green Revolution, that is why we had the concept of industrial agriculture coming in. And this concept of industrial agriculture helped us in increasing the amount of food that is required to feed the growing population. The industrial agriculture has various methods and processes in order to provide food. Okay, the first is the monocropping. Now what is monocropping? It is growing only one crop at a single time. Rather than having many crops, only growing one crop at the same time is called monocropping. We also have irrigation. Then we have pesticides. And these pesticides target different things. One is the herbicides and another one is the insecticides. Next we have is the fertilizers. Now fertilizers are also of two types. Some of the fertilizers are organic fertilizers, but rest of the fertilizers are synthetic fertilizers. So we have two types of fertilizers which we use in order to have good agriculture. And these days we have the arrival of what is called as GMOs, the genetically modified organisms. This is like we introduce a bacteria or a kind of virus in a particular organism and we create a new organism which is called genetically created organism. So that is why it's called genetically modified organisms. And all these methods like the monocropping, the irrigation, the pesticides, the fertilizers and the GMOs, all these helps us to create lot more food than we could create it from the conventional farming, right? These helps us to allow us to produce more food for the growing population, and that is why these are basically the solution for the growing population. These are the solutions for the industrialization which is coming in. But each of these processes and methods will have major drawbacks. So we need to look at these drawbacks and then decide as to how to use these methods in a very clever way. So now let's talk about the characteristics of all these methods and basically the characteristics of industrial agriculture one by one. Let's first talk about monocropping. So what is monocropping? Monocropping is when you just plant one crop at the same time. That's called monocropping. So monocropping is the agricultural practice of growing a single crop year after year on the same land in the absence of rotation through other crops or growing multiple crops on the same land. For example, we have corn, we have soybean and wheat. These are the three most common crops that are often grown using the technique of monocropping. So what is really good about this monocropping? One thing which is good about the monocropping is that the farmers become expert in growing that particular crop year after year, because they are growing this crop every year. So they become experts and they know what does a growing of a crop requires, right? One disadvantage is that monocropping requires very expensive machinery. Now, what are some of the problems with this monocropping? Some of the problems are that we have soil erosion taking place, and also we have loss of biodiversity. And if we have rain, the rain can actually wash away all that healthy nutrient which are there in the soil. The soil can get washed away because of water. So we have a lot of soil erosion if we only grow one particular crop every year. What can we do to reduce the soil erosion? We could do what is known as the contour plowing. Now what is known as the contour plowing? Let's talk about these. For example, this is a corn, and the corn is grown every year in the same land. So that is what is monocropping. And this is how what is soil erosion? That is, the soil gets washed away because of rain. And what is the solution for these? That is the contour plowing. So if we make contours like this, then the rain won't be able to wash off this soil, and the healthy nutrients in the soil will remain in that particular area, right? So that is what is known as the contour plowing. And so we will not have soil erosion. Now next, let's talk about irrigation, right? So what is irrigation? Irrigation is a method in which water is supplied to the plants at regular intervals for agriculture. It is used to assist in the growing of agricultural crop, maintenance of landscapes, and revegetation of disturbed soil in dry areas and during periods of inadequate rainfall. So basically, irrigation helps us in plantation or in farming in those areas where we could not have done, where the soil is not good, where there is not much of rainfall, right? So in those areas we can do irrigation. One major problem with irrigation, which too much irrigation, is salinization. What is salinization? We'll talk about it. What is the solution of the salinization is to use the salt tolerant crops. Now, irrigation is using water in the areas in that particular land is called irrigation. And what is the problem of irrigation is salinization. So salinization is basically, when we have a lot of salt in a particular land. So what happens is, if you have a lot of salt and if you have the rain will wash off the salt. Like you can see here, the rain will wash off all this salt and the salt comes down. If we take out the water, when we use the water from the ground itself, then this water which we are using for irrigation will again contain more of salt, right? And year after year, when we keep using the same water from the underground sources, the amount of the salt in the soil will keep on increasing. So that is what is known as salinization. How can we avoid salinization? We can avoid salinization by using the salt resistant crops. So what we could do to avoid salinization is, first of all, we can use a better quality of crops. We can rotate the crops. Second is, we can reduce irrigation and use better methods of irrigation. Other solution is, if we use different crops and crops which are salt tolerant, then this can also avoid the problem of salinization. Another major function of agriculture, that is the industrial agriculture, is the use of pesticides. Now, Under pesticides, we already talked about it, that pesticides can be, of two types. One is the herbicides and one is the fungicides. So this is basically to kill any insects or anything which is harmful for our crop. Right. So what is pesticides? Pesticides are substance meant for attracting, seducing, and then destroying any pest. They are a class of biocides basically, and the most common use of pesticides is as a plant protection products, also known as crop protection products, which in general protect plants from damaging influences such as weeds, fungi, and insects. So basically they kill all these insects and weeds that are present along with the crop, and which are trying to harm the crop, right? Now, why are farmers using these pesticides? That is because, first of all, they keep the crop unaffected by these weeds and these insects, and in fact the return is also quite high. Like for example, for an investment of, let's say, a rupee, then they get 4 rupees in return. So that they get their investment in return, right? This is an approximation that how the pesticides is being used. 65% of is the insecticide, 15% is fungicides, and 15% is herbicides. So this is the fraction in which the pesticides are used. What is the problem with the pesticides? One major problem with the pesticide is the bioaccumulation. So these chemicals are not going to go away anywhere. These chemicals are going to build up in the food pyramid. So what happens is, now because the weeds are killed, the insects are being killed, but they are going to continue along with the crop. So the crop will be eaten by some other insects, and that insect will be eaten by some other animal, and that's how when we eat this animal, the same chemical is going to transfer from the plants to the animals, and then from the animals to the human body. So that's how these chemicals are going to build up in the food chain and eventually enter the human body. So that is one of the major problem. Another problem is resistance. Now when we spray pesticides, what kind of pests are we killing? We are killing the pests which are the least resistant. So if you spray for the first time, a lot of insects will be killed. But thereafter, in the second application, few of them will survive and only a very few will be killed. So what happens is, the ones which are survived will now become resistant to that particular pesticide. Now let's say a third application of that pesticide, few more will survive, right? And these pests which have survived previously and even this time, then they will become very strong, and they are going to become resistance to that particular pesticide. So then what we gonna do is, we have to try and apply some other pesticide which will be useful, which can kill these pests. Now you can see this is another example to show you how the pesticide resistance develop over a period of time. So you can see the first time the pest is eating the plant. So for the first time when the pesticide is applied, most of these mites will be killed. Now few of the mites will be surviving over here. Not all the mites will be killed, but most of them will be killed, and a very few will survive. Now the few which have survived, resistant to the pesticide. And also what happens is, see, these mites are eventually they are decaying the leaf. Right, now what happens the second time you apply the pesticide, what happens, few more will be surviving, and the previously survived mites have already become resistant to that particular pesticide. So look at the condition of the leaf, it is again decaying, and the pests which have survived have now become resistant. So that is how a particular pest will become resistant to a particular pesticide. So that is one problem that we face. So bioaccumulation and resistance to a particular pesticide are few disadvantage of using the pesticide again and again. So how do we solve this problem? Now look at this chart here. In the chart I have shown here, there is a population of the pest, the growth of the pest, and this is over a period, this is the time, right? Now over a period of time, population of the pest is going to go, and thereafter it will become stable. Now in this area, if you look at this area where the population is increasing, it doesn't make any sense for us to apply pesticides, a lot of pesticides, because the numbers are large enough. And why is that so? Because the population is still under control and it is increasing, and it has not gone over this economic injury level. So there is no point applying a lot of pesticides in this stage. So the farmers these days are actually keeping a close look on their crop. That is, they have to really study as to what kind of crop are they growing, what kind of pesticide do they have to apply, is the condition of the crop and the population of the pest is in such stage that they need to really apply the pesticides, or can they just do away with some kind of mechanical equipment or some mechanical process by which they can avoid these pests and can control the population of the pest. So all these studies are being done by farmers these days under the integrated pest management. So all this study comes under what is known as the integrated pest management, wherein we devised a lot of other procedures in order to control the pest. For example, mechanically also the pest can be controlled by using these equipments which throw some kind of rays which will avoid these pests to come close to the crop. Also, there are other methods, like you can use the lacewing larva like as shown here, which could kill this weed. What is important for the farmer is to have a look at the condition of the crop and the population of the pest, and to understand whether it's really required by them to apply so much of pesticide. The application of large amount of pesticide will eventually affect the health of the humans. So what is important to understand is whether the application of pesticides is really important, and in the initial stage, if it is not important, so the pest can be avoided by these mechanical process or by using these equipments. But in case we reach a stage wherein the application of pesticide is required, then the application of pesticide can be done in much clever way so that it doesn't affect the health of the human beings. Now, another application of the industrial agriculture is the use of fertilizers. Now, the use of fertilizers helps in providing to the plants the most important nutrients that they need. For example, the nitrogen, the phosphorus, the sulfur into the soil. So these nutrients are very, very important for the growth and for the health of the plants. So a fertilizer is any material of natural or synthetic origin that is applied to soil or to plants' tissue. Usually it is applied to leaves. So it is very, very important for the growth of the plants. So these fertilizers will be sprayed on the crop, on the leaves, and the plants are going to go really healthy and very fast with a higher yield. So this is the effect. When we spray the fertilizers on the leaf, this is how the leaf will start decaying. Now, the few problems with the application of fertilizers is it requires a lot of energy and fossil fuel, and the major problem is runoff. And how could we avoid it? Just by having an intercropping. That is, we have 2 or 3 crops which is grown at a time. That is, on a single land we have 1 or 2 crops that are grown alternatively. So let's talk about the problems first. So the problem, as I said, is runoff. The rain water is going to wash off all these fertilizers away, and this can lead to a problem which is known as eutrophication. Now, how can we solve this problem? As I said, intercropping, where we can have 2 or 3 crops that is grown together. For example, we have the beans is grown along with the corn. So the 2 crops have been grown together. So in this case, the beans is providing the manure for the corn to grow. So both the crops actually help each other to grow, avoiding any such case of runoff, right? So that is intercropping. Now let's move on to discussing the genetically modified organism. What is GMOs? The genetically modified organisms are organisms like the plants, the animal, or the microorganism in which the genetic material, that is the DNA, has been altered in a way that does not occur naturally by mating or by natural recombination. That means what we do is we take the DNA of one organism and we introduce that in the other organism, and this is how genetically a modified organism is obtained, right? It is produced. So that organism is called genetically modified organism, right? So we'll discuss more about the GMO. So but before discussing what is the problem with the genetically modified organism is loss in biodiversity. So this is the genetically modified organism. We have the tomatoes. So on the left side you can see this is the organic tomato and this is the genetically modified organism. You can see the color is different. That is because it is genetically modified. We have always been breeding, animals and plants, and we have hybrid animals and plants. But one example of this genetically modified organism can be, these golden rice. So we have been inserting the genes into the rice so that we get rice which has more of vitamin A. Why is it a big deal to introduce vitamin A into rice and generating what is called as the genetically modified rice? Is because over millions and millions of children under the age of 5 have vitamin A deficiency. And so such children can eat these genetically modified rice and can avoid any kind of vitamin A deficiency in them. So another example can be this corn. What we are doing here is that we are taking the genes from another bacteria and we are inserting in the corn. So this is how we produce the genetically modified corn, right? So now most of the studies tells us that these genetically modified organisms are not harmful to the human body. However, it depends on country to country. In the US, the people over there use a lot of GMOs, whereas in Europe, we don't find so many people using the genetically modified organisms. There is still a lot of study going on behind it. There is still a lot of controversies behind whether the GMOs are good or the GMOs are not good for the human health. So now that we have studied about, the various characteristics of industrial agriculture, so it's very important for us to understand why are we in today's world are moving from conventional agriculture to what is known as the alternative agriculture, that is the industrial agriculture or the alternative agriculture. We have to use all these methods in order to have good and healthy crop production. Now if you look at the history, that is in earlier times, how the agriculture was done, then these are some of the conventional way in which the agriculture was done. This is how the farmers used to plow their field. But what happens is with industrialization, as the population increased, with these conventional methods of farming and plowing, we were able to sustain the application. We were able to grow the food in just a linear manner. So you see this red area over here. This is the way we wanted to produce the food because the population is increasing like this. So we had to make the food available for this population also. But however, we were not able to, and the food availability was just along this linear line. So eventually what you have is this catastrophe wherein we were not able to feed these many population. So then there came the Green Revolution, and with the help of the Green Revolution, now you see this is the graph of the population growth. This is what we had initially, that is the population feed was like this. So with the help of Green Revolution, the graph, instead of going like this linearly like this, the graph went straight steep rise like this, and therefore we were able to provide food for this rise in the population. So various biologists like Norman Borlaug and other farmers collectively, brought the various methods of industrial agriculture, what we just discussed, and into action. And because of that, we were able to have the increase in the supply of our food. So the amount of the crop that were produced every year increased because of this Green Revolution and because of these methods of industrial agriculture. So what is important is to understand that there was a big shift from the conventional methods of farming, of agriculture, on to what is known as the industrial agriculture. But now, even if with these various methods of industrial agriculture, what we need is sustainable agriculture, so that it does increase the crop productivity every year, but however at the same time it should not have any harmful effects on the human body or on our human health. So I hope you have understood what is agriculture and what are the various methods of industrial agriculture. In the next video, we will talk about animal husbandry and how agriculture is related to animal husbandry. So thanks for watching Edupedia World videos.